Welcome back to another episode of Chamber Talk. As you can see behind me, we are at the P&J Live. The vote count has finished. We have found out that the SNP have regained their seats in Aberdeen North, Aberdeen South, and they've also gained a seat in Aberdeenshire North and Moray East, of course, the new constituency. That's a gain from the Conservatives, who originally had David Ducatz elected for that constituency. Douglas Ross then took over in the 11th hour, the outgoing Scottish Conservative leader. That has went the way of the SNP. However, the Tories have done okay too. Andrew Bowie retained his West Aberdeenshire and Kincardine seat, while Harriet Cross picked up the new constituency of Gordon and Buchan from the SNP's Richard Thompson. Now, it's been a bit of a strange night here in P&J Live. Across the country, we have seen parties of red, celebrations from the Labour camp. It's been far more subdued here. Labour had hopes of winning Aberdeen South from Stephen Flynn. They fell around about 4,000 votes short. And in truth, every other seat was a bit of a two-way battle between the SNP and Conservatives, who admittedly are happy for winning their local seats. But nationally, disappointing results for both parties. Now, we caught up with candidates from Labour, Tauqeer Malik, who stood in Aberdeen South, Stephen Flynn, of course, the SNP's Westminster leader, and he remains the MP for Aberdeen South, as well as Harriet Cross, the newly elected MP for Gordon and Buchan. Joining me now, Tauqeer Malik. Tauqeer, increased Labour's vote share in Aberdeen South, 4,000 or so away from the SNP. Just tell me how you're feeling briefly, just moments after
I think Labour, we had a fantastic night, because you know what is the result for Labour in across the country. And in Scotland especially, we just back in a business. We won so many seats so far, and the prediction is very, very good. And it's a fantastic night for Labour overall.
I think at the time of us recording, there's been about 15 Scottish declarations. I think about 13 have went to Labour. The two that haven't have been in Aberdeen. Is that, do you think, indicative of the oil and gas policy?
It was because for the last few weeks it was just propaganda in relation to oil and gas, and I don't think anybody is going to lose job. Labour will protect job. It is very important that we support the industry, and myself personally, I had a meeting with the oil industry like Shell and Harbour Energy and Wood Group and OE UK. We will protect job, but because of the propaganda for the last few weeks, 100,000 job, and but I can say because Labour policy is to protect job and create more job, and we will create more job.
I mean, propaganda. It is experts that are warning this. Do you think that policy is the reason that you haven't been able to win Aberdeen South?
I disagree with the expert. They are warning us, because when I had a meeting with OE, they said we have only 100,000 jobs. How are we going to lose? We have only 90,000 jobs. How are we going to lose 100,000 jobs? So I still believe it is propaganda. It's not the expert opinion. I don't think we will lose jobs.
Aberdeen, if exit polls, etc., are to be believed, could be the only city in Scotland that isn't going to be Labour ran, essentially. Dundee Central's on a knife edge right now. We don't know where that's going to go.
No,
Why do you think that is?
We increased the lead.
You increased, but the SNP still won.
If you compare it, SNP, of course, I would like to congratulate SNP MP because they won. And but how we increased our lead, our vote bank as well, from compared to last election 2019 to 2022, 24. I mean.
Stephen, exit polls suggested it would be a challenge. It proved to be, I guess, somewhat comfortable, 4,000. Are you relieved?
I'm content. You know, we had just under a 4,000 majority, and we've came back with just under a 4,000 majority. We knew that the votes would fall slightly differently in this election, but we were content and confident in our message locally. I've tried to be a very distinctive and strong voice for Aberdeen in Westminster, and I think that's probably carried us over the line to a certain extent, particularly when it comes to energy policy. And you know, over the course of the next few years back in Parliament, I'll try to make sure that Aberdeen's voice continues to be heard.
Let's talk about energy. Pretty much every city, certainly in Scotland, other than Dundee, which the SNP have just held on to, has turned red. Aberdeen City has stayed yellow. Is that indicative of the various parties' stance on energy and oil and gas?
I think it's quite clear to everyone that there's huge concerns about the impact of the incoming Labour government's energy proposals. So when I go down the road next week, I'll be seeking urgent clarity.
Final call for candidates or election agents for the Aberdeenshire North and Murray East constituency to come to the RO adjudication area for adjudication of doubtful ballots. Thank you.
That was an Ed Miliband plant, that's what that was. I'll be seeking immediate and urgent clarity and discussions with Labour ministers regarding what it is that they actually intend to do, holding them to account, but also trying to work with them on some of the big energy projects that are likely to come to pass. So we still need certainty on Acorn and the funding for that. And, you know, as I say, I've got a track record of making clear my views in Parliament, making clear, hopefully, the views of the people of Aberdeen, and I'll continue to do that.
Do you worry that your voice in Parliament will be very much quieter now?
Oh, I'm obviously not going to have the same platform which was afforded to me on a Wednesday afternoon to quiz the Prime Minister, but look, I don't think anyone who knows me would suggest that just because I'm sitting on a couple of benches further back that I'm going to be quiet in Parliament, because there's big issues to be dealt with. It's not just energy, it's the cost of living, it's obviously the RAC situation in Tory as well. We need to see economic growth, and you can only get economic growth if you've got better relations with the European Union. So there'll be some home truths that will be getting spoken to the Labour Party, but I'm also keen to work with them in order to deliver the investment that Aberdeen and the North East so desperately needs in order to make sure that we've got jobs and opportunities for the future.
There's been a hell of a lot of warnings around the future of the energy industry should the Labour government come to power. They are going to. Are you worried for the city?
Yeah, I'm massively worried because, you know, we've seen independent experts talk about tens of thousands of job losses. We can't allow that to happen. You don't have a transition to net zero without the workforce that we currently have retaining their jobs and being able to develop the new jobs and the new technologies of tomorrow. So the energy transition is something that we need to get right. We need to get right immediately. There can't be any mistakes made, because if there are mistakes made, the biggest impact is going to be in this city here. So my message to the people of Aberdeen is very clear, that I'll be standing up for them in Parliament. I'll be their voice in Parliament on these issues, and I'll make sure that Labour ministers are held to account.
And just finally, a disappointing night for the SNP. Where did it go wrong?
So I've been awake for 24 hours. My wee lads got me up yesterday morning very early, and it's now 5 o'clock in the morning. I don't think it would be fair or reasonable for me to pinpoint one particular thing. Of course, the overwhelming national narrative is the Starmer tsunami. People want rid of the Tories, they wanted a new Prime Minister, and they're going to get that. And of course, the SNP can't compete in that particular contest. But it would be foolish of us to suggest that that's the only reason why we've suffered so many defeats across Scotland tonight. And, you know, all of us who've been re-elected, and indeed those who've not, are going to have to come together to reflect upon what's happened, to probably have some open, frank and robust discussions that maybe haven't happened, to make sure that we can chart a pathway forward which allows us to regain the trust of the people of Scotland, rebuild our party, and indeed ensure that we're able to deliver upon what the people of Scotland want to see delivered.
There we are.
I think you're about the only person still smiling after an 8-hour count. Just tell me quickly how you're feeling.
Yeah, I'm ecstatic. I mean, it's such a responsibility, but also a huge opportunity, both for me, but also I hope for Gordon and Buchan. I think sort of fresh approach, sort of actually getting the focus back on local issues and actually sort of delivering and hoping. But I've listened to people in Gordon and Buchan over the last year, and I can start putting that forward. But yeah, huge responsibility. But as I say, I'm looking forward to getting started.
You've really bucked the trend tonight. It's a Conservative gain.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
precious little of those in the country.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think because, I mean, throughout the campaign we have been focusing on the North East, what's happening here locally and what we can deliver. I mean, I think for a long time the North East of Scotland have felt left behind or forgotten about, and we've absolutely brought the focus back, whether that's saying that we'll invest in our key roads, whether that's focusing on the oil and gas sector, food and farming, the key industries, which are not just about sort of, if it's energy, for example, energy security, it's about jobs and livelihoods and the economy of the North East, and that's what people care about, and that's what we've been focused on, and that's what we're undeniably happy to talk about We don't pretend that it's like a bad thing that we have to ignore. We are behind the oil and gas sector. We're behind our food and farming sector. We see it as key parts of the North East, and we will always support it.
And whether people agree or disagree with your stance on oil and gas and granting future licences, the Conservatives have been very clear on what they want to do with it. Has that, do you think, had an impact on gaining votes? There hasn't been this uncertainty which we have seen with other parties.
I think we've been clear. I mean, we've been clear and unequivocal. I mean, we do support the oil and gas sector, and I've had people on the doors say to me, but we are voting for you because of your stance and because it hasn't changed, because you don't say whatever comes with the win that day. And that includes people who used to vote SNP and are now swapped to us, people who used to vote Labour and have now swapped to us. They see that as a key issue, but we've stood strong in it throughout, and we don't change what we say just depending on who we speak to about it.
Are you concerned about a Labour government? You can stand up for your constituency, of course, but at the end of the day, the decisions will fall with Labour. Does it worry you? We know their energy policy could risk jobs.
I think, yeah. I mean, I think we have to appreciate the size of the majority they've got, and they have a mandate to work on. And I think it's wrong for anyone to say that they shouldn't be allowed to exercise that. Saying that, it's a huge issue in the North East. I mean, effectively, as of today, if they carry through their policies, there's going to be no new licences. That's a huge thing for the North East. So yes, I am worried for what it will do up here. But it's my job now to work as hard as I can to make the case for the North East, and the reason why that sort of policy is absolutely disastrous to us up here. And I mean, it's great, but we do have Conservative MPs still up in the North East who can make that case.
Thank you for your time. I'll let you get to some breakfast.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Well, thank you for listening to another episode of Chamber Talk, a general election special. We'll have so much more content coming your way over the next week or so in our morning bulletin. Please do sign up on our website. Please do like, share and subscribe to Chamber Talk 2. We'll see you next time.